Today's speaker is Dave Lechleitner. He's Principal of Product Marketing of Exact Software North America. Dave is going to be better able to tell you about his background, but he's been with Exact for 22 years. Fun fact I learned today. And he's also chair of the Software Technology Council for the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association. He's got more than 20 years experience working directly with small and mid-sized manufacturing companies. He's a recognized senior enterprise resource planning professional with extensive pre- and post-sale consulting, pre-sales, and management experience. He grew up in Wisconsin and went to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. In addition, he has asked Mark Melfi, owner of Southfield Packaging, to join him and share his experiences. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Dave Lechleitner.
As Susan mentioned, I've been with Exact for 22 years. Currently, I serve as principal of the product marketing group. What that simply means is I have the luxury of being able to spend 90% of my time looking at what's going on in the world of technology and helping my company translate that into deliverable products and services for our customers. If any of you have seen me speak before, you know that I always like to sprinkle in a lot of practical application with theory. And what better way to do that than inviting one of our customers, and I was able to do that today. I've known Mark for about a year, visited his company about 6 months ago. And Mark is going to come up at the end of the presentation today and really articulate how his company has taken some of the concepts that I'm going to talk about in theory and really applied them at a really practical level. And so at the end of the presentation, we'll kind of tag team and talk to you a little bit about how Mark has been able to really take his company to the next level by embracing some of these disruptive technologies. And as I was putting together this presentation, which is kind of a variation of a presentation that I did about 3 months ago, I realized that this presentation is actually already out of date. I use the term disruptive technologies throughout my presentation. That's a term that no longer exists, believe it or not. The new term, based on Gartner, who is a leading global research on technology and innovation, the new term is now the nexus of forces. The nexus of forces. That's the new term. All right. So a little PSA, public service announcement, just to share a little bit about who Exact Software is. So we are a global company. We are actually number 3 in the world for providing software solutions specifically to the SMB space. And we define SMB as those companies with less than 100 employees. So if you look globally, there's really not a lot of companies that are really focused at really in terms of that market space. You have Intuit, QuickBooks, and you have Xero based out of Australia and New Zealand, and then you have Exact Software. We're a $215 million company in terms of annual revenue. We have 16 global offices. We have customers in 110 countries. And actually, again, that number, 200,000, already out of date. We actually have over 220,000 online subscribers to our solution. We add 1,000 new clients, new customers, every single week. And that equates to 1 new customer every 10 minutes. And we want to grow that. We want to add 10 new customers every minute. All right. We focus our solutions very specifically in a couple of specific industry verticals here in the US, namely accounting, standalone accounting for those businesses that just need an accounting solution, but really more with those folks that are focused in manufacturing, wholesale distribution, and professional services. So we have ERP solutions dedicated to those specific verticals. We have both on-premise and cloud solutions. Our legacy is a 30-year-old company that started selling on-premise solutions. And there still absolutely is a marketplace for that, especially here in the US. But very quickly, back in 2005, we started seeing a shift. And that shift was really the cloud. And so that really is our focus today. We really see ourselves as a global enabler of SMBs, small and mid-sized businesses, in their desire to be a part of that global economy. And how can we enable these businesses to do that? So the whole premise of my presentation today is that we are absolutely living in an age that is unprecedented in human history. Why do I say that? A couple of different reasons. I like to play a little game of trivia with y'all, okay? So I'm going to throw out an answer, and let's see if you can figure out what that answer represents. So the first answer is 77 billion. Does anyone know what that number represents? I heard it. Actually, pretty close. That was the number of apps that were downloaded in the year 2014. The number of apps downloaded in 2014. Just in 1 year. Holy cow. Holy buckets. The year 2012. What's significant about 2012? Probably lots of things. We had more data created in that 1 year than all 5,000 years of previously recorded human history. Holy cow. Begs the question, what are we going to do with all of that data? And how do we actually harness that data so that it becomes useful and usable information? That's the challenge. That absolutely is the challenge. 3.5 billion. Want to know what that represents? The number of daily internet users worldwide. 3.5 billion. 50 billion. No, wait. 75 billion. That is the projection for the number of connected devices that will be connected to the internet in just 4 years. Right now, does anyone know where we're at? How many million devices today are connected to the internet? Anyone have a guess?
35.
About 35. Do you know where we were back just 2 years ago? About 8 million. 8 million. Exponential growth, right? Has huge implications and ramifications if you are a small business, but more importantly, if you also service small businesses as well. This is my own personal story. I've gone from this just 30 years ago, IBM PS2, not even the Model 30, I had a Model 25. It had dual floppies, right? And I had the world, right? I could have a program on one floppy drive, my data on another floppy drive. I had the world by the tail. And I paid $3,000 with an educator discount for that machine, okay? We've now gone to having the same and equivalent power on devices that we carry in our hand, right? That our employees bring into work every single day. And where are we going? Right there. We're going to even smaller devices that will allow our employees to wear technology that has more computing capability than that desktop that I had just 30 years ago. Okay. We are living in an age that is disruptive because of the convergence of all of these different disruptive technologies. If we only embraced one of these 5 technologies, imagine where our businesses could be, right? But we are being asked actually to leverage elements of all 5 of these technologies, and the impact of that is just going to be exponentially greater. I like to say disruption is basically turning business on our ear. Disruption is forcing us to question every single traditional business process and procedure that we have, or at least it should, right? So what are these 5 disruptive technologies? I want to talk a little bit about the first one, social media. I will admit, I am a laggard when it comes to social media. I thought social media was just a big fad, right? Didn't have business application, maybe was kind of cool in your personal life, but look at some of the statistics that we have now. 73% of Americans today are on one or more social media sites. How many of you today are on Facebook? How many of you are on LinkedIn? How many of you are on Twitter? There you go. That's our life. We are a connected workforce. How many times a day, while you're at work, are you connected back to friends, family, coworkers, other professionals in your industry? That is the world that we live in. And what's even more interesting is look at what's happening in the developing world. This is not something that is unique just to the United States, just to the developing world. What I find most interesting is the growth of social media won't be happening in the developing countries anymore. In emerging economies, they are expected to have 100% year-over-year growth in social media usage. People are more connected and more informed than ever before. Your customers are coming to you more connected and more informed than ever before. To me, that has huge implications for your business. It is going to drive or force you to become much more collaborative with your customers. You will need to know more about your customers than your competition. Within business systems are leveraging social media. For example, in traditional business systems, in traditional CRM, customer relationship management systems, many of those already today support social media integration. So I can literally be looking at my customer account card, and not just my customer account card, but individuals within that company, and know exactly what they are thinking, what they are doing, and what they are saying about me every single minute of the day. It is going to allow companies, especially small and mid-sized companies, to quickly identify those customers that are their best promoters, but I think more importantly, their detractors, right? How are we going to leverage that information, right? And I think it's a double-edged sword, right? with everyone as connected as what they are, it has huge implication for your business, right? It allows you to get out the right information at exactly the right time. But conversely, think about what happens if the wrong information gets out. How do you control your employees from communicating information that is sensitive about your company at the wrong moment or at the wrong place or at the wrong time? Huge implications, right? I think one of the critical things as a small business to think about is, what is your social media plan? How are you going to control this flow of information, formal and informal, from your employees to the outside world? Huge implications. It can create for companies, I think, tremendous cross-sell and upsell opportunities. It creates a different sort of a relationship, a much more informed relationship. We can pick up with conversations exactly where they left off, but more importantly, I know more about my customers even without having to talk to them directly. Again, huge implications. It allows me really the opportunity to do a couple of different things. Number one, guerrilla marketing, right? Think about the opportunities that I have if I have this information flowing to me automatically, right? And there's tools out there that allow me to manage and compile all of this information on social media, looking for keywords or phrases, and do automatic touches and email campaigns to my customers based upon what they are saying out on social media. Allows me to be much more in tune and provide services exactly when and where my customers need them. It allows me to really keep up with this, what I call the velocity of business today. I don't think anyone would disagree that the velocity, the speed at which we are being asked to do business today, is unlike what it was ever before, right? Mobile. We are living in an age where people want to use and bring to work their own personal devices. I work for a software company. I've worked with them for 20 years. I have gone from company policies that used to dictate you do not use personal devices at work, period, to now an environment in 20 years which actually encourages that. They want me to be connected every single day and every single minute of the day. I went on holiday last week to Mexico. Did I shut myself off from work? No. We are living in an age where employees are more connected than ever before through their personal devices. We've seen a huge transformation in business systems as well. This has really been, I think, one of the key drivers with the changes in business systems today. As you look at where business systems have come, in the first phase of business systems adopting to mobile, it was really customer relationship management, right? CRM systems became available on cell phones so that salespeople, when they went out on the road, had access into customer information. Then we saw the move to analytics. Dashboards became available on these mobile devices. Then HRM, self-service applications where employees could submit resumes or applications, do whatever they needed to do from an HRM standpoint. Today, literally, we are living in an age where complete ERP solutions are available on devices like this. In addition, we're dealing with a generation that is used to using technology. And they're not satisfied with the technology that you and I grew up with, right? These are folks that grew up using Nintendo, PlayStation, and they want their business systems to look, to act, to feel like those sorts of experiences. We call it the gamification of ERP, right? Mobile technologies, in addition, have a huge impact for technology companies, right? I was sharing with somebody earlier as we were going through and just kind of talking before the luncheon. When you have technology that move to mobile devices like this, the speed at which we deploy updates just inherently has to change. I remember back in the day in the on-premise world, where if you had one big update a year and maybe a couple of minor updates, that was the traditional upgrade that companies went through with their business systems. Today, because everything has become much more mobile and leaner in terms of business systems, we actually at Exact deploy new updates 4 to 5 times a week. Completely invisible to the user. Mark doesn't know. It just happens. He walks in the morning, and there's new functionality available to him, and he did not have to do anything. And in the old days, what would have to happen? Businesses would shut down or have to do it on a Saturday. They'd go through this huge upgrade process. Employees would have to be retrained on the new functionality. We don't live in that world anymore. Things happen much too quickly, much too often, in small incremental pieces. But when you look at the available functionality that we can deliver because of the mobile aspect of the business systems that we're using today, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I want to share a little video here. The number one issue for many companies that deliver services is what? Accurate time reporting and accurate billing so that we can invoice the customer correctly and get paid on time. We've now eliminated 90% of that issue, right? And it's completely invisible to the user. And the user, the employee, can use his own smart device, his own smartwatch. So I thought this was kind of interesting. 70% of employees today with smartphones regularly check their work emails outside of normal business hours. The 9 to 5 day is gone. The expectation is we have an informed workforce that needs to be and should be connected 24/7. Tablets today are the most effective mobile form, right? Obviously, if you look at smartphones, there's a geography issue, right? But as you look at tablets, and Mark will talk a little bit about what his company has done related to tablets and deploying mobile technology on the floor. Tablets, probably for most companies, are the most viable option. 43% of employees connect with email on their smartphone in order to get ahead of the day's work. That's exactly what I do every single morning. What's the first thing I do when I wake up? When my alarm goes off on my phone, I reach for my phone, shut off the alarm, check my work email. What do I need to get ready for? Right? Completely changing the work I do. This is kind of interesting. During downtime, 91% of employees check their smartphone every 6 to 12 minutes. I see people doing it right now. Right? We are absolutely connected every single minute of the day. So what does it imply for us? I think a couple of things. Practically, it breaks down the barriers of when orders from our customers can be entered. When we are visiting clients, we should be able to enter in orders directly back to our system of record right when we're at the customer site. Logistics and production data will now be captured at the point of origin, right? If you think about the old world again, think about that project manager. What did he used to have to do? He used to have to remember what he did, and hopefully by the end of the week he sat down in an Excel spreadsheet and recorded all of his hours, and we hopefully captured all of the hours, right? Prone to error, prone to mistakes. Field service reps should now be able to eliminate paperwork altogether and through mobile devices communicate back to the home office, right? Again, completely changes the business dynamic. The Internet of Everything. Huge disruption that will happen here. What this simply means is that we are living in an age where we will have people directly connected to machines and devices and directly integrated with products, right? Machines will talk to machines. People will be able to automatically communicate with people. People will be able to automatically communicate with machines. Product will be able to communicate to people. Product will be able to communicate directly with machines. And we can do this through this whole network of sensors, right? Called the Internet of Everything. It allows us, if you think about the implications, to automatically trace product from beginning to end. Where is that product at? Are we having issues with that product? Are we having issues with machines that are producing that product? It will allow us to have real-time insight literally up to the second. This shows a heat map of how many interconnected devices we have by geography. What I actually find quite interesting is look how connected Europe is. We like to think of ourselves, again, here in the US to be technology leaders. No, no, no. Europe is actually quite substantially ahead of us, especially in this area. Okay. And guess where it's developing very, very quickly? South America and also Africa. Little piece down here. Okay. So again, getting back to the developing world, we can't minimize what's going on there. The 4 industries, this I think hits home for the audience here. The 4 industries that will see the biggest gain from the Internet of Everything manufacturing, retail, finance and insurance, and information technology. How many of you are in or serve customers in one of those 4 areas? If you don't know and embrace the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything, and you're in or servicing one of those 4 industries, you better catch up. Okay? Let's take a look at a practical example. This is not either for huge companies, right? This is not something that these multinational billion-dollar companies are embracing. This is a 60-employee manufacturing company in Indiana, $24 million in annual revenue. Not huge by any means. By all definition, a small business. Look at how they've embraced the Internet of Technology, or the Internet of Things.
Okay, Glass. Let's revolutionize manufacturing. Hey Ben, how does this setup look?
Yeah, that looks great.
That was awesome.
So basically, as what you should have seen there is through Google Glass and through sensors that he was able to connect with, the first thing was he was literally able to walk up to a locked door, open it up because the system knew who he was and that he was authorized to work between a certain hour during the day, and it automatically unlocked the building to let him in. He was then able to walk up to a machine to see what product was actually running in that machine. As soon as he got close enough to that machine, he was able to touch his Google Glass that basically said, oh, I see what part is running on this work center, on this machining center. He was then able to actually compare automatically the quality of the part, right? He was able to compare the part print and what the theoretical part should look like with what the part actually does look like. And then when he did see a problem, he was able to communicate in real time through Google Glass again, back up to the engineer in the front office. If we had all of this information available to us electronically, coming directly from machines, coming actually directly from the product, why do we need paper anymore, right? How good is that paper document? It's only as good as probably 5 minutes ago, right? As soon as the customer calls in with a revision change, those paper documents now become invalid, right? It absolutely has huge implications. And what's amazing to me, you saw, again, the 4 industries, right? Manufacturing, finance and insurance services, IT. Those are the key industries that should be embracing this technology. So again, as I look at it, what does it mean for a small company? Again, we talk about agility, flexibility, velocity. Holy cow. It dramatically changes the velocity of doing business. Believe it or not, reduced working capital, right? Because things are just smarter, right? Imagine what would happen with a machine, for example, that consistently starts producing a part out of tolerance. That machine will automatically shut down because it knows it's making bad parts, right? Has huge implications. Improved efficiency, avoidance of disruption, better customer service, right? Without additional overhead, right? The more that we can move to these sorts of technology and not be hindered by old legacy systems and old legacy technology, the better we're all going to be. Talk a little bit about information. And all that information now that we're going to have. Predictive, responsive analytics. That, I think, will create defining business moments. What does that mean? It means that with all of this information that is coming to us literally in real time, up to the second, we're now going to be able to start predicting customer behavior. When should that customer place an order with us? And if they haven't placed an order with us, why not, right? The problem today is most systems of record take a rear view window approach, right? Even dashboards. Look at what did we do last week, last month, yesterday. Where we will be going with all of this information is through relatively simple mathematics and algorithms, we will be able to have business systems tell us when and how we should be reacting to these key business moments, right? We're already starting to see it, right? We have smart devices all over, for example, refrigerators that can automatically place orders to grocery stores based on prediction. Oh, I see you're running low on milk. You consume X number of gallons of milk every week. I'm going to automatically place an order through Amazon and have more milk delivered to you automatically this afternoon. That's where we are going. And where's the human in all of this? Today, he's part and parcel. He's center, right? I think in the world of tomorrow, the influence of the human starts to be diminished quite dramatically. Has huge impact. So again, this is just kind of a neat little graphic showing where we've come from. Think about you or some of your customers. 20 years ago, Excel was king, right? Everyone had their Excel spreadsheet. Everyone loved their fancy graphs that they created. Gone, or will be shortly. We are very quickly moving to the age where we will have tools available to us that will actually, again, predict what we should be doing. What's the implication for small businesses? Huge, right? It will allow small businesses to more accurately predict, based upon previous history, based upon previous information, potentially new revenue opportunities. Right? Improved integration of all sorts of business processes. Improved customer and supplier collaboration. What's kind of interesting to me is we are definitely living in a global economy. We have suppliers and consumers all over the world. And yet, even though we have a global economy, we have technology that allows us to condense the speed at which we are able to service those clients or deal with suppliers. Cloud. And I'm going to shortly turn it over to Mark. I am a firm believer that none of this is capable of happening unless we embrace the cloud. And quite honestly, it is not a matter of if, but when. It is the only cost-effective way that we can harness all of these other technologies. And it is the only way that we can quickly deploy these new technologies and actually keep up, right? It is a huge investment for small companies to deploy on-premise solutions. Huge investment, huge upfront cost, huge ongoing cost. Cloud allows companies now to embrace technology that previously was only available to much larger corporations. Right? It allows very small companies to level the playing field. This I thought was really interesting. This is a statistic from Intuit, our friends at QuickBooks. 80% of US small businesses by the year 2020 will completely embrace the cloud. There's the when, not if, compared to about 37% adoption today. And what's interesting to me is the number one fear of the cloud just 2 years ago, security, is the number one reason today that people are adopting the cloud. We all have the horror stories, right? Data hacked, Target, various other corporations. We have very short memories, quite honestly. Okay. I thought that was huge. The number one reason, and that was a statistic that I ran across just last month, the number one reason today people are embracing the cloud is because of security. And think about it. So many years ago, back in about 2005, I was working with one of our on-premise customers that had a disastrous business event. Their business was flooded. They thought they had a disaster recovery program. They were doing backups every day. They thought that they had backups that could be restored. The problem was no one took any of those backups off-site. Their business was almost ruined. They had to recreate 30 years of business data almost overnight. Today, you don't have to worry about that. So I have no data, no business critical data that should be housed or that needs to be housed within the four walls of one company. I won't talk a lot about this slide, but the particular provider that we use here in the US, those are a list of all of these security precautions that they take every single day. They have only certified people that can access data. They have data that is controlled with redundancies to the redundancies. They have 5 different rollback data centers. So if the facility in Chicago gets taken out by a nuclear bomb, no one gets affected because that data is automatically redundant in 4 other hidden locations just in the USA. All right. So what's the implications? I think for business systems, and at this point I'll turn it over to Mark, what we are going to see is huge monolithic business systems that are going to be replaced with much smaller, leaner applications. And applications actually that will seamlessly work one to another. We are quickly moving from customization of business systems to fit our needs to configuration of business systems. Because think about where this is going, right? Most business systems today that are in the cloud have app centers, allowing your customers to build exactly the business system that they need. Configuration. 6 to 12 month implementations are turning into days and weeks, and Mark can talk about how quickly he came on board. People and systems will become even more connected. All right, so I've talked a lot about a lot of theory. I'm going to quickly turn it over to Mark to share with you his story, both on his company and how he's embraced technology.
Thanks, David. Yeah, great. David has brought so much to the table, so much for us to think about. I can't speak to it all, but what I can speak to is the fact that the only way we're going to get to embrace everything that David brought up is to move to the cloud. And I can talk what you can expect to happen once you begin to take those steps. The most important thing that I've found is once you start to embrace the cloud, in which we've moved to the cloud, I have all our important data is out there with the help of a partner like David, is that you begin to find out your employees begin to become much more empowered because you've given them the real ability to manage the way they want to interact with your business. As Dave said, it's a bring your own device world out there. I had an employee that I just learned about 2 weeks ago went rogue on me, and I didn't even know he's not even using his computer that we have at his desk. He's bringing his own laptop in, and nothing happened. So moving out there is an extremely important step for us all because it's the only way to give our employees how to integrate it all together. So that's first and foremost. The other important thing that I've found is we've gotten to work with David and his team for getting close to 2 years now is you begin to really work as lean as possible because now you're creating your business logic around a piece of software that was really created for a lot more than just what you needed to do. So what happens is a lot of the baggage that your employees or your culture may toss on top of whatever software you use kind of just goes away. So we found ourselves working so much leaner, so much faster. I actually, on our shop floor, we have Chromebooks now. I mean, for $180, you have a Chromebook, and my employees online, or my lead employee online, is just linked right in. So it's all going on. We actually have a Chrome desktop on a large screen TV right on our shop floor. So, all our employees now are able to see what our deadlines are. If we're doing some type of kit, we get to see the bill of materials right there, right online. It's all right there. So these type of things are happening, and I can't. It has been a tremendous 2 years for us, and I couldn't have gotten there or empowered our business as much or our employees as much without adapting to the cloud and getting everything out there, because we brought the business to our employees rather than the employees coming in. I mean, they're still there, but it is just now when something happens that they can't deal with. What I feel one of the greatest things is that your business now is waiting. It's always ready. So no matter when my employees need to interact, is there and they get whatever they need because, you know, as David said, it's very disruptive out there for our employees nowadays. We see it in ourselves. All right, everything is becoming together. We're all on call 24/7, and it's just a world we have to deal with. So there's no better way as an employer is to let the employee kind of figure out his own path and let him adopt what he needs in order to bring the most, you know, to work. So these are the types of things that and it does kind of grow on itself. The last point I'll make with data and having everything out there in the cloud, the most recent thing that I began, you know, to realize is where does my company exist now? And I'm trying to grapple with the fact that I think it kind of exists in our emails. So I'm trying to figure out now, how do we look at email and how it all works? Because that's where our business data really lies now. Files don't mean anything on a file server anymore. If my employee creates a sheet in whatever office suite he uses in the cloud, there's no file. But he shares it out. Now all of a sudden, you know, or he attaches it as a file. Now that file does exist in an email somewhere. So this is the important stuff that I am beginning to see, and you know, like I said, I couldn't be where I am, and being able to just let my employees embrace the world around them, which, by the way, just translates back to they work a lot better, and we work with our customers a lot better without porting out there to the cloud.
Questions, folks, or